Hello, my name is Chrissy Smith. This is Nine Lives Energy, and together we energize your body from the inside out. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I have my friend Deborah Robinson with me, and today we are going to be talking about our second part of this astrological transit of Jupiter being in Cancer for the next year. We did our first part last month as we wrapped up the Cancer season, and now we are into our second part as we wrap up Leo season. And Deborah has a lot of Leo in her chart, just like I do, which, lets me know why we are friends. And this is something that we can talk about, is one of our favorite topics, which is astrology. So Deborah said she wanted to touch base on what all Cancer rules. And Cancer rules our emotions and our feelings. And there's been a lot of heightened sensitivity around these two ways that we experience the world when we had Venus and Jupiter conjunct 14 degrees of Cancer along with the star Sirius last week. And that was a really benefic time. So not last week. When was that? The other day, August 11th. School is starting back for me. My full-time job is a teacher, and my part-time job is studying astrology and doing things like this that I'm enjoying. So anyway, trying to balance out the third dimension matrix job with the fifth dimension job that I see myself doing in the future. And also Mercury has just come out of retrograde and is now in shadow. And I experience Mercury in shadow a lot more than other people. And I think it's because Mercury is in retrograde in my chart. And so when it goes into shadow, that's when I experience my challenges, because I seem to get a lot of things done, slow down, have a lot of clarity and realizations during Mercury in retrograde, which I had this past week, along with this Venus and Jupiter conjunction on August 11th. So without further ado, Deborah, how has this last season treated you with Jupiter in your sign and the sun in Leo?
Well, again, we do have the sun that is in Leo, and that's a beautiful thing. And the sun in Leo is actually going to last until 8/22. So we still got a couple of more days to go. And then you got a couple of more days to go with Mercury. We all do, with it being in shadow. It's going to come out on the 17th. But, I tell you, in thinking about, what I wanted to talk about this time with this Cancer and Jupiter being together, and then in the mix of it, we've got Venus that entered on the scene too. And I'm like, wow, it's a lot going on. But since it's going to be there until June of 2026, I found it necessary. Let's look at this Cancer thing and see what we got. And I'm like, boy, do we have a lot. And then on the 6th of August, we had Mars that entered into Libra. And so it's like, because they are squaring, which is 90 degrees apart, there's some tension. I wanted to bring that to show you how relative this is, what we're talking about. So if you will just bear with me just a little bit and get your paper and your pencil, because this is noteworthy taking. Because when I found this information out in this article that I'm going to read, so bear with the boredom of it, but the boredom of it, pay that no mind and look into this deep philosophical part that we need to go into so that we can learn to move out of the identity crisis that we've been in. And that's why I feel like Neptune and Saturn are big in Aries as well as Chiron, so that we can clear up some of these crises of identity that we had, and really know that the key word for Aries is I am, so that we can start functioning in that. And so when I was in school, I really couldn't recall nobody identifying what emotions are and what feelings are. And when I read this article, and I read some more, but this was more practical to bring that we all can understand. And I was like, I thought they were the same thing. Well, they are not. And so we're going to identify that, because when it comes to our emotions and our feelings, and because Cancer is ruled by the moon, and so, with it being there, it's like we do need to get clarification as to what's emotions, what's feelings, and then you got moods that's included in here too. And so, once we get this all cleared up, I believe it is going to help us, especially with this squaring of Mars and with Venus. And then we've got Venus and Jupiter that are conjunct together, and anything that Jupiter touches, it expands. So does this mean our feelings are going to expand? It does. Does it mean that our emotions are going to expand? It does. It means all of that. And so now, because we are learning to become the observer of finding out who we are, all this work is internal, so that the external can be able to express it in a more healthy way. So here goes, and this article is by this gentleman. His name is Michael Miller. Emotions and feelings are often used interchangeably, but they really aren't the same thing. So what's the difference between emotions and feelings? The short answer is time, Time. The emotions come first, then feelings come after, as the emotional chemicals go to work in our bodies. Then moods develop from a combination of feelings. Emotions are chemicals released in response to our interpretation of a specific trigger. So anything that comes to us, the very first thing is that it's going to create a chemical. It's the reaction to it. It takes our brains about a fourth of a second to identify the trigger, and about a fourth of the second to produce the chemicals. And by the way, emotion chemicals are released throughout our bodies, not just in our brains. And they form a kind of feedback loop between our brains and the bodies. Feelings happen as we begin to integrate the emotion, to think about it, to let it soak in. In English, we feel both physical and emotional sensation. We can say we physically feel cold, and definitely say feelings, but we can also feel emotionally cold. This is a clue to the meaning of feeling. It's something that we sense. Feelings are more cognitively saturated, as the emotion chemicals are processed in our brains and bodies. Feelings are often fueled by a mix of emotions and last for longer than emotions. Moods are generalized. They're not tied to a specific incident, but a collection of inputs. Think about the rain we've had this week. Mood is heavily influenced by several factors: the environment, including the weather,
Mhm.
lightning, people around us. I know last night there was a definitely lightning going on because my room lit up. And then I let the window up and all that rain. I was like, ooh, I know I'm going to sleep good for real now. I'm going to rest. And here, the physiology, what we've been eating, how we've been exercising, how healthy we are, and finally, our mental state, where we're focusing attention and our current emotions. Moods can last minutes, hours, probably even days. Immediate physiological response to perceived stimulus, chemicals released throughout our body that last for about 6 seconds. So, what's emotions? Emotions continuously regulate every living cell to adapt to emerging threats and opportunities. They provide raw data about the world around us that is essential to our functioning. This is some interesting stuff. Feelings. What are feelings? The physical and mental sensations that arise as we internalize emotions. Feelings are cognitively saturated emotion chemicals. Why do we have feelings? Feelings are how we begin to make meaning of emotion. They cause
Mhm.
us to pay attention and react to the perceived threats or opportunities. We're acting on emotional data. Moods. What is mood? Mood is a mix of feelings and emotions as we go through our days. A mood is semi persistent mental plus physical plus emotional state. Why do we have moods? Often the threats and opportunities that emotions and feelings signal are not just one off. By having a lasting mood, we stay attuned to handle what's next. So, in that mix of all of that I just read and said, it's like bringing everything into order and knowing that there's a timing with it. And so, when the observer is turned on, we know the very first reactionary thing is here's this emotion, and it is going through our body very quickly within 6 seconds. And then our feelings, which has to do with, are we smelling it, are we tasting it, are we touching it, are we hearing it, are we speaking it? So it is definitely cognitively, and then it controls how we feel about something. So once we began to bring this understanding into our daily practice, our daily routines, and when I was walking the other day, I got this download that was just so beautiful. And it's simple behaviors. Be, have. So what we be is what we have. Or, and then the or is entirely up to us, whether we're in reactionary or whether we're in response. And we can call it fight, flight, fight, freeze, all of those things. But these are very important because of our identities that we've been given. And we didn't know that there was a emotion and a feeling. We've used them interchangeably, but now we are beginning to understand about ourselves, how this physically and mentally and emotionally work in our lives, because Cancer is all about that. So here's Jupiter that's moving and that's there, and it's saying you need some clarity because Jupiter looks at the bigger picture. And then here you have Venus that has arrived in there as a game player too. So, and it is the ruling planet for Libra. And I said Mars is currently sitting in Libra. So, and they're squaring. And I found this so powerful when it comes to both Cancer and Libra. Both of them are cardinal signs. And cardinals, the energy is simply this. Cardinal signs are the instigators, ready to forge ahead with plans and attract those who can support their efforts. Cardinal signs are leaders and tend to be outgoing because they're engaged with the world in a dynamic way. They're restless to start new projects and happiest when they're running the show. Okay, so here you got these two energies that are coming together. It's like, oh, but listen to this. This is so powerful. When you have a square between Cancer and Libra, again, indulge the reading. Take notes. Read this because with this square happening, it's going to be for just a while or so. But again, we can begin to observe what it is that we are reacting and responding to and do different. And I've been putting this into practice, and this is about relationships. So when you look at Libra, Libra definitely is all about relationships, but this will identify it for you. It's a paradox that effort should lead to harmony, but all cardinal signs fight for something. Whether it's through the mental faculties, we're hearing that again, the emotional, physical, or the spiritual. We just talked about that when I was reading the difference between the three. The Libra Cancer tension is based on sophistication and refinement versus safety and nurturing. Safety and nurturing is definitely Cancer all day long. Cancer finds Libra to be too involved with superficial things that doesn't matter in the long run. Libra finds Cancer to be moody and instinctual, only caring about securing that basic needs are met and neglecting the finer things in life. Libras are not necessarily very practical, but they like things to feel and look pleasant. Cancer is more prone to care and cultivate emotional bonds, while Libra doesn't really form attachments. Romance, however, is another question. The cardinal air sign is first and foremost looking for high, light-hearted love and appreciation, pleasure and finesse. Cancer, on the other hand, can't stand trivialities because living is a serious thing and one can't cope unless more fundamental needs are satisfied, such as a reliable support system in the form of family. And Cancer is definitely all about family. Ask me how I know with the sun being in Cancer and the ascendant. So, family, family, family. Cancer is not much for Venusian love because that kind of love involves taste and preferences, which isn't really any of Cancer's concern. The cardinal water sign aligns more with the archetypal mother than the lover. I like that. And there's Venus over in Cancer now. The cardinal water sign aligns more with the archetypal mother than the lover, which illustrates perfectly why Libra and Cancer don't get along. Libra can't stand the emotional realm particularly well because it's too human and too far from the intellectual idea. Libra would constantly try to adjust and modify the very organic and cyclical phases of Cancer, deeming them unsophisticated and unattractive. As a result, Cancer would clam up, become defensive, and try to put Libra down through subtle, degrading comments and looks. Libra would feel hurt, unloved, and probably resort to giving a minor lecture right about and wrong in terms of social behavior, which would make Cancer even more defensive and secretly vengeful. Cancer doesn't really consider right and wrong in terms of intellectual judgment, nor is this sign concerned with justice as a concept. It's much more instinctual, which is Libra's eyes would seem irrational and unpredictable. In other words, not something to bring into the sphere of social relations.
Well, I
So
think,
this is what this square is all about. And you've got this going on the inside of us because we all have Cancer and we all have Libra in it. And
mhm,
so with this square that's going on and with us being in a 9 year, this is the finishing number numerology wise. 9 is the completion and the finishing year because another cycle is getting ready to start. So here we have these two cardinal signs, this part of us that's in conflict. And so it could very well be where relationships are going to end or they're going to come together. But this is more of a separation of what's important. Is it the nurturing? Is it the mothering? And then you got Libra over here saying, no, it's the intellect. It's the intellect part, it's the social part, when truly both of them are important. And so the more that the defenses are coming down in relationships, the better families are going to come together. And this is more about a coming together than it is about a separating. And the more that we go within to be able to distinguish these things. Am I overreacting? Don't forget, Jupiter expands it. And so here we could have this tension where there could be bigger arguments, or it could be where we come to the table of reason. when you are working on your individual self, and when you are listening, when you are paying attention, and the observer really doesn't have to do anything but observe. And then from there, take action. Because when we look at Mars, Mars is aggression, Mars is anger. These are the shadow things that happen in Mars. But when you look at the Mars, when it's in its full light, oh, good gracious, it is our vitality, it's our physical strength, it's the action of getting something done. And so all of our relationships can use a complete overhaul. So we are doing just that, because we know that this chemical that is being produced emotionally is the trigger to get our feelings going. And so it was real clear about Libra. Once it gets its feelings hurt, oh my goodness. And so we have to look at those places within us. Where are we weak when it comes to if somebody says something, or if somebody has a different idea? Because Libra definitely is about balancing. And so Cancer has that mothering energy in there. It's very nurturing, it's very caring. And also, it is the sun sign for the United States of America, being Cancer. And so we're coming into all of these things that are addressing where we can become more um, humanity for forefronting and moving in the way, because we're moving into the era of Aquarius, and we are there, we're in the beginning of it. And so that is all about being the humanitarian. And because we've been taught to move so much from our senses, we didn't know that we can actually change these things, and they're actually being transformed by Pluto that's in Aquarius. So everybody has their role to play. And when we look at Saturn, the disciplinarian, and when we look at Neptune, that's about seeing it from the spiritual perspective instead of the illusions and the delusions of who we thought we were, we are really getting an overhaul when it comes to the self realization, the actualization of who we really are, and our lives can be better and our living can be better. So, yeah, I just really think that this is real big, and I really appreciate the opportunity, Chrissy, because we can take these YouTubes and we can go back and we can play them over and over and over and over, to get these things into our internal self, so that the external can be a whole lot better, a whole lot better. And I know we all are needing that now because of the many things that are going. And so you think about our frequencies and our vibration. This type of knowledge can help us to change. And we think that just because you were born under one sign, that you're not that. We're all 12. And
Mhm.
learning those characteristics and learning those qualities. Even when you look at Cancer, it's about the home too. And this is a time frame when renovations can happen in the homes or your houses, and the real estate market, it can go up, it can go down again, because Jupiter is there. Jupiter has a lot to do with our beliefs too. What do we believe in? Why do we
Mhm.
believe what we believe? And when the self inquiry comes about, that's why I like that Uranus is in Gemini, because the curiosity, we need to ask questions. And I remember when we were growing up, we couldn't ask a lot of questions. The answer was because I said so. And
Mhm.
so that gave us less value in trusting our own selves. And so, with Venus being in this grouping too, Venus lets us look at what it is that we're valuing. And so we get to raise the bar when it comes to our self-worth. our knowing who we are and being able to participate in the societal things that Libra was talking about, and being able to come together in partnership and getting our communities together, getting the individuals together as well as getting the
Mhm.
communities together. So that's what I wanted to share.
Right. I was actually looking at when people ask, like, do you use ChatGPT for astrology? It's not going to give you the spiritual type knowledge to be able to put some of these pieces together, but I'll use it to give me like significance. For example, it would take me forever to figure out some of this information. So I looked up, when will Jupiter and Venus be conjunct again? And so it's going to be conjunct at 25 degrees of Cancer in January.
Okay.
And then I looked, so it hits every single zodiac sign every year, but because it hits Cancer again, it skips Leo, and it does not have a conjunction with Leo for the next 12 years. And so I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, okay, well, if Pluto just went into Aquarius, which is about service to humanity and the future, UFOs, astrology,
Innovation,
right? So if Mars is in Libra and Mars is the actionary and it cuts and it severs and it's the war, it's warring against the relationships that no longer serve.
right?
Even the relationships that we have with habits, the relationships that we have with our job, a relationship that not only we have with our house. So not a house, our home and our stability. But it's also cutting and severing those relationships. So like you said, the new ones can be called in.
Yes.
When we just had that full moon in Aquarius this past Saturday, it was like I was at a place where it was in a real big field and I could see to my right the moon, and then to my left I could see Saturn. Now there was a conjunction of Saturn and Neptune, and there will be until February of next year, but you can't see Neptune from the Earth's perspective. You can only see Saturn. So it's almost like Jupiter is wanting to give you these blessings, and Saturn is over here telling you, like, have you learned the lesson this time to call in what you really want?
Yes.
Because if you have, then Jupiter is going to give you these blessings that are going to help you have your stable foundation of Cancer, of the home, of your emotions. And so I have Cancer, not in Libra, but not Cancer, but Mars in Cancer. And so it's very hard for me to show my emotions and to be vulnerable in front of people, because as the Aries, the leader, and the Leo rising, we're supposed to have a lot of courage. We're supposed to be the leaders. But with that, there's an emotional, I feel, by having both of these expressions in my chart, that it by being the leader, you can't show your emotions, like, and you think about, like, where did this come from, right? Where did it come from? And it's like, well, it's because this happened. Okay, well, go even deeper. Well, it's because of this, and even deeper. And it's like you train yourself between the ages of 1 to 7, your subconscious behaviors. And these subconscious behaviors are things your parents said. These subconscious behaviors are, well, did I live in lack or did I live in abundance? Shame, guilt, the stories we tell ourselves, how we saw the world based upon how others were raising us, right? And so if a parent said, well, and we joke about it, right? Well, if you don't stop crying, I'm going to give you something to cry about. Oh, where'd you go? Oh, come on back. Well, when she comes back, I will bring her back up. But if you stop crying, I'm going to give you something to, if you don't stop crying, I'm going to give you something to cry about. So that tells us that, okay, well, I'm going to program myself to be strong, and that when I am up in front of people, I better not cry, so that I'm able to show that I'm strong and that I don't show my weakness. And so if you have a lot of Aries in your chart, you may have some of those responses when you do have something that is emotionally challenging. So what I have experienced over the past week with the Jupiter and Venus conjunction is the fact that whatever Jupiter is in, like Deborah said, is going to be expanding that. So Jupiter is expanding our emotions. And with Venus there, it's also expanding what we love, and people stepping away from things that don't allow them to be fulfilled emotionally anymore. For me, I'm leaving a 30-year career as a fitness person. I teach my last class at that time in that way. I have 3 more left. And so Mars is going to be in Libra at this time, where I'm cutting that tie. I'm an Aries. I'm the warrior. And I realized why I went to this job. And it's because in 2020, when the gyms closed and I had a change of my identity, I wanted to be able to go out on my terms. I didn't want the government to be able to say that your time is over and that this is the amount of money that you are going to get. I wanted to be able to be the one to cut and sever that tie. And even though I spent another 5 years doing that, I feel like I am leaving on my terms. I'm not leaving on the government's terms. And so because I'm allowing something to let go of that I resonated with so long, and that was a part of my identity, I find that by having relationships like I have with Deborah has allowed me to figure out who I want to be next. And, students and people often ask me, like, why didn't I ever have a YouTube channel? And I think it's because I was supposed to be doing something different. I'm going to add her back to the show in just a second when her thing comes back up. But I was supposed to be doing something different. I was supposed to be tapping into some of these other gifts, right? I love being outside, and I've shared this on many occasions where by being outside, it has allowed me to have a better relationship with health and fitness. And if I was doing the YouTube channel a long time ago when I was that Aries warrior and the personal trainer, that really wasn't who I was supposed to be. And I probably wasn't going to be able to be my authentic self because I was pretending to be somebody that I wasn't by pushing my emotions down and pretending to be this fearless leader, helping people with personal training and teaching all these group fitness classes. But I've been inspired by having relationships like I have with Deborah to let go of some of those old identities and to step into somebody new. And by seeing people like Deborah, who no matter how old you are, you can step into being more authentic of who you came here to be. That helps, elevate the collective, because when you stand up in your authenticity and feeling good with whatever it is that you do you feel good in that relationship? Do you feel good in that job? Do you feel good when you put on that outfit? Do you feel good when you look in the mirror in the morning? Do you feel good when you wake up in the morning? And if you don't feel good, like what can you do in order to help yourself have a better day? And for me, like, I like to dress up a little bit more. That helps me feel better. Put a little bit more makeup on, fix your hair, nurturing yourself emotionally that way, because regardless of what happens during the day, by being confident in the way that you present yourself, by maybe fixing up, not wearing pajamas, even though you may have had something terrible happen at home, how can we say, you know what, even though this happened to me, this is going to be my outward appearance when I go out into public, and to be in our gifts and talents and to have those relationships that help uplift us. And as these relationships are closing out in your life, whether it be with a job or maybe with a house and you're having to move, stepping into those new roles, you will be amazed at the abundance that will be able to come into your life. Deborah has not come back yet, and we are hitting on about 35 minutes at this time. The other thing I would like to tell you guys is, with all these energies with Venus and Jupiter that we had last week, we can feel these types of energies with expansion of what we love and expansion of our home and expansion of our emotions and allowing us to dig a little bit deeper. We're going to be feeling this energy until the next Jupiter Venus conjunction, which is going to be happening on June 9th of next year in 2026. So because that closed out the chapter of this, then we are going to be having our next Jupiter and Venus conjunction in the same sign. And so we're going to be skipping Leo. And if we look back where Leo is a opposite of Aquarius, Leo is about being in front of the camera, but also being authentic, not just coming in and expecting everybody to bow down to you with royalty. Okay. It's about, what am I doing with my Leo energy and my soul? How am I living from my soul in order to be better service to humanity? So as these things are closing out, other things are going to be able to come in. So just hang tight with those emotions. Those are going to be highlighted until June of next year. And if you feel like something is leaving your life, don't keep holding on to it, okay? Because you might be missing, all right, those other 3 things that are trying to come in. Deborah, I did fill in just a little bit and told a little bit of my personal story about how something is falling out of my life with my job as 30-year career in the fitness industry, and how stepping out of that, I am having more abundance coming into my life. And so would you like to have any closing remarks for us?
Well, one beautiful thing.
Hold on one second. Let me change something.
All right.
You are muted. Just give me a second.
Okay.
Okay, now try.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, now we can. Welcome back.
Yes.
Mercury in retrograde shadow is playing tricks on you, my friend.
It really is. But you know what? In the midst of it, I stayed calm. I was like, if I get back in, I get back in. If I don't, I don't. Yeah. But it's all good. I was thinking the other day, and this is definitely a good note to close upon, because I was reacting to something, and I was like, Deborah, you know, when you react to something, it's going to react right back to you. And the reason why I say that, because you mentioned where your Mars was located, and my Mars is located in Leo. And so sometimes it's very aggressive and quick tempered and can just go over. And so now being in practice of like when I say I don't have any patience, that's not true. I do have patience. I just need more patience. You know, so that's what again the Jupiter is expanding on. And the things that we think that we're lacking, we're not lacking anything. We just need to practice more of it. We came here with everything that we needed to have. We're sustained, we're stable, just more stability. And so therefore, again, I do believe that that helps us when it comes to that mothering energy that the Cancer is really announcing at this time. We do need to nurture one another. And so as we continue to grow in that, and with my great grandson, it's amazing, because I was helping him to get his shower the other day, and there was some resistance, and he doesn't even know that he has resistance, because there's some autism that's there, which is just a different thing than what we do and how we do it. But anyway, and he was pulling away, and I was like, you know, how much resistance do we have? And I began to think about that. Where are the areas in this resistance? And so, because we are all initiators, that's the thing that this cardinal energy is really pronouncing to us. And when we look at Aries, it is a cardinal sign as well. all of this initiating, the initiating energy that is within us, it's calling for us to become the leaders that we are. There's not any of us that are not leaders. We just need to understand that we are. That gives us our boldness, that gives us our confidence for our dreams and our visions that are beginning to manifest, that will definitely help us in understanding what our true value is. And so, as we understand more and more that emotions are all about this chemical energy that we release and in science is the neurotransmitters that, and also the cortisol. That's the chemicals that we are releasing that can cause our stress levels to be way up, or we can remind ourselves as we engage in whatever event it is, because that's all life is, the experiences. If we look at them just as events, they're not happening to us, they're happening so that we can learn lessons, and again, so that we can become very more service oriented towards one another and being kind to each other and loving each other. That's what it's all about. That's what the lessons that we're learning. When you are coming from a very mothering energy, then you will definitely be more societal ready to help each other. So offer somebody a wave, offer them a smile, and it all is coming from the heart, because that's where Leo is functioning from, and Cancer is from the gut. So taking care of the gut is a wonderful thing that we can do too, because it is known as our second brain. It's where our gut instincts are telling us what to do and how to do it, and do it from a perspective that we are nurturing one another. There you have it, ma'am.
All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody. And if you got something out of this, make sure that you like this video and comment below. Join us next month whenever we have Deborah back with us for part 3 of our astrological series, Jupiter in Cancer. If you missed part 1, go check that out. Deborah is a Cancer, and by having Jupiter in her sign, I figured that she would be able to tell us all about this, considering she is a double Cancer with her ascendant there and her sun. If you would like to know how what your astrological birth chart signature is, you can reach out to Deborah or myself. Our contact information is below. And we can also offer advice about how some of these astrological transits that are coming up will be affecting you most personally. Enjoy the fun, folks, because things are going to get a little tense once we enter eclipse season in September. And there are going to be a lot of things coming out regarding health. And health is wealth for the next year with the astrological nodes on the health axis of Pisces and Virgo. So not only are they going to be affected, but also every sign is going to be affected as far as their health goes. So health is more than just being physically fit, folks. You can look physically fit, but inside you might be spiritually unwell and not listening to your intuition, or not listening maybe to your angels that are tapping you on the shoulder that don't want to see you make that same mistake again. And you may not be emotionally well or mentally well. So reach out to a friend, folks, or change up your routine a little bit. For me, I walk in the woods, and that's how I release my emotions. And by doing that, I don't hold on to those emotions and try to cope in an adverse way. So thanks so much, everybody. My name is Chrissy Smith. This is Nine Lives Energy, and together we energize your body from the inside out. Thanks so much.